Well, welcome to the Men's Journal Everyday Warrior podcast. I've got Amy Van Dyken-Rouen here. That is a long-ass name, man.
It's stupid. I don't hyphenate it. I've never hyphenated it, ever. So I was always go by Amy Van Dyken when I'm working or swimming. And then Amy Rouen, like when I have to call and get a prescription or call and get a reservation. Well, all of a sudden, I go and I get this accident. I'm in ICU right after major surgery. I look up and the Today Show has hyphenated me, and now it's a thing.
Once it's in the media, you're done.
You're
At least you didn't change your name.
No, that's true.
Because
right?
there's seals that get out that were like, John Doe, and now their name is something else out in the public.
Do they really do that?
Oh yeah, all the time.
Why do they do that?
I'll refrain from comments.
Okay.
Which people can probably figure it out. But for the crowd, I'm going to give an overview here. So Amy is a 6-time gold medalist, Olympic swimmer for the United States. So I'm calling you a national treasure over the next 2 days. Because what people don't know is you're going to see the footage before this podcast comes out. But we are skydiving Amy in tomorrow.
Yep.
We have a special pair of pants that we're going to put you in.
Okay.
Nick Cush, who is a dear brother, and I can actually say with confidence has saved my life and the life of many SEALs from his expertise and his competence, is going to be jumping you in. I would love to do it. Right. But when it came to you, we wanted to make sure that we were mitigating risk to the lowest level. And he is so good at what he does. He would never say it, but he's one of the foremost tandem and bundle experts in the world. He trains our elite military in both those competencies. And people don't know what bundle.
Yeah, I was going to ask you. Bundle
jumping is. It's basically, imagine a circular, it's usually circular, cardboard, cylindrical vessel where we put gear in it.
Okay.
Sometimes they can jump up to 800 pounds. But imagine a bunch of SEALs are jumping in. And they need chainsaws and, torches, and maybe they want to put some machine guns in there or other equipment. One individual would jump that in. It's a very complex mission, and he's dedicated his life to it. He's awesome, and he has this huge beard, so he's just burly.
I am so excited. I like a good burly man.
We're going to have fun tomorrow, and I know there may be some media on the drop zone. We're here in Denver, so you get is this the first time you've skydived?
Yeah, I've been deathly afraid until my accident to skydive, because I was deathly afraid of the fear of falling from heights. So anytime I got near anything high, I would freak out. Well, it's really weird because all of a sudden we start talking and I'm like, yeah, why don't we skydive? My husband, Tom, is like, what are you doing? I'm like, I just don't have that fear anymore. And I don't know why. I don't know if it's because I've already faced death. I've done it, been there, done that, have the t-shirt, all the things. And maybe it's not that big of a deal. So I'm okay.
I'm wondering if you will become slightly addicted tomorrow.
I kind of wonder because, hearing from people, Mike, like that have jumped, they have said it's kind of a peaceful calm after a certain point. And I used to be able to go under the water of a swimming pool and lay on my back and look up and just have like that peaceful, quiet. And I haven't had that in 8 years. So I'm hoping that this will do it. And I think I might become addicted because it sounds amazing.
Well, I'm going to ask Nick to do a few things. So this is what skydiving has become for me. So I'm not the guy who's doing the cool things in air.
Okay.
I'm one hip replacement deep. Skydiving is extremely spiritual for me. Okay. So I'm going to ask him to do a high opening. And I want him so on your first times free falling, a pink elephant could fly by you and you wouldn't even see it because you're like sensory overload. And so it takes a few times to totally be perceptive of what's going on when you're in free fall.
Okay.
So I want him to open high for a reason so that you guys get situated.
Yeah.
And there's some things he has to do, procedures for the tandem.
Okay.
But I want him to talk to you and say, hey, we're at 7,000 feet.
Yep.
I want you just to look around and look at the terrain. I want you, if this is the time, yell and get it all out. If you're cursing and saying, screw you, or just, woo-hoo, as he does, look at the terrain tomorrow and just breathe.
Okay.
Breathe and just feel the air, and hopefully it's a spiritual experience for you as well.
Yeah, I'm excited.
But for the audience, as we're doing this, we're here at Amy's home, and we've got Tom Rouen, Amy's husband, who's a Denver Bronco. How many years in the NFL? 13. And then we got Jeff Campbell, also NFL. How many years? 5. And then Will and Jeff's girlfriend. So they may have the peanut gallery may make some comments in the background. We'll repeat it.
Right.
But so Amy, let's dive in, because I may piss some people off with this comment. You were like the Michael Phelps before Michael Phelps was Michael Phelps.
Oh, stop. I tell him that all the time.
You basically laid the foundation for him to.
I've told him this. Yeah. Also, funny story. Michael Phelps would not be Michael Phelps without Amy Van Dyken. Let me tell you the reason.
That is a bam, drop it, let's go.
And I tell him this too. So he's 15 years old, his first Olympics. It's my last Olympics. So I am coming off of this, becoming the first American woman to win 4 golds in 1 games. So he was following me around. Amy, do I put my swimsuit on? Amy, do I need to warm up? Amy, do I need to warm down? So you're welcome for Michael Phelps wearing a swimsuit and knowing when to warm up and warm down. There we go. So yeah, but what I did was the female version of what he did.
Yes.
Right? So it was pretty cool. It's pretty cool. And he's a dear friend. And I think that's pretty cool that we're friendly.
Were you proud when he came out regarding the mental health?
Oh, I was like, I haven't read that. I'm so sorry. Jeez.
Oh, no. Did you think coming out of the closet?
I did. I'm like,
hey, Michael Phelps
my heart sank and I'm
he's
like,
heterosexual. He's not. Yes,
correct,
we're not saying that. And
Michael
even if he
Phelps,
did, we'd be wildly proud of him.
Well, absolutely. I mean, but still, then you go, Nicole, I haven't read anything today. What's going to happen with the kids? Are they divorcing? What is happening? I got scared all in that moment. But coming out with the mental health, there we go. It's a different story. Yeah, I was so proud of him. I was so proud of him for doing that, because the thing is, and what he said was so true, and I don't know if you feel like this from your military background, but like you start to feel like a commodity. You start to feel like you're not a human being. Like you are there for one purpose, and they will take care of you and baby you and make sure you have all the things. And then all of a sudden, the day you retire, Amy, who? Right? So I was very proud of him for doing that, because what he did for swimming and for sport.
And Simone. I think he paved the way for Simone to do what she did.
He did, and what she did was great. And I know that people can have all their things, whatever. But if you're a gymnast,
Are you talking about the criticism of her?
Correct.
Hey, you know what? What I often say to people is, kiss my rebel ass. Kiss my rebel ass.
Right.
You know,
Right.
the amount of judgment out there.
Right.
If you're not operating or performing at that level, just
sit down and shut up.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you don't know. Like, she's on the world stage and she got the twisties, right? Which for anyone who does any sort of flip, she can't tell what's up, down, right, left. She could have really hurt herself. So for her to actually pull out when other athletes would have gone on, i.e. Carrie Strug broke her ankle and continued on, I'm glad she stopped. Because gymnastics has also been one of those sports that has been so driven by, you will do this and you must, and it almost like brainwashes them. I don't want to say that really, but because not really, but almost like we're work. And you're not really a human. Again, you're a commodity.
But Olympic swimming is no different.
No, Olympic swimming is no different. You're right. I shouldn't just say gymnastics.
Yeah.
I think every sport kind of has that a little bit, right? Because you kind of have to. You have to get in that mindset that pain is good. You love pain. Like, otherwise, why are you training 8 hours a day? Like, you know, why are your fingertips purple or pruny, you know?
Could you imagine, like, I go to the gym for maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours. Maybe I'll get double days in.
Yeah.
But it won't be beyond 2.5 hours.
Right?
Yeah, I know we got the camera guy, Will. Hey, ask for permission. This is Amy Van Dyken.
You couldn't hear me. I'm so sorry.
So I think he wants you to lean a little closer to the mic.
Stop.
I apologize for my staff. They were very disrespectful.
No, they're fantastic. They're fantastic. And apparently you all have to have the same haircut, which is really cute.
No, so let me tell you the story.
Yeah.
Like, I've had a shaved head for a while.
Okay.
And Will is, you know, I own the company.
Yep.
He is an employee, but he's like a little brother.
Yeah.
And I think it's like 3-year mark. We all come in and Will has shaved his head, and he's had hair for the longest time. And everyone's like, hey, is he trying to be like Mike? Or is it like
I mean, well, kind
everyone
of.
came forward and they're like, this is a little weird. Do I need to move?
I'm not going to say weird things about this, but he also has the scruffle on the face, also has the tattoo on the inner bicep. I'm not going to say that it's like single
white female. Yes, that's what my wife said. She's like, "Hey, do we have an issue here?" So.
I think you may need to put a restraining order or something in place. I'm not sure, just for when it's done. No, Will's awesome. He's perfect.
So, well, we're going to get to that level of performance. Let's back up, because you know I say the same thing to all my guests. You perform at a national level. You are a a celebrity at the national and international level, but nobody ever knows your background.
Right.
No one ever understands all the struggles it took to get where you got. So you're born in Colorado.
Correct.
Which is one of the most beautiful states.
It is. It's gorgeous.
Inglewood.
Yep. Inglewood, Colorado. I was the first of 4 children. And so I was like the pride and joy. And, I was a normal kid, but all of a sudden at 18 months old, my mom looked in the back seat, because, we had front-facing car seats back then. And do you remember that?
Are you talking about the old station wagons?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, yes.
Oh, yeah, with the Woody on the back, and everyone's facing forward. So she looked back, and I was like turning blue, not breathing. So she brings me...
18 months old.
18 months old. So rushes me to the hospital, and within the next probably, 2 or 3 months, I was in and out of hospitals, and they couldn't figure out what was wrong with me. Pneumonia or bronchitis, it just kept coming up. So there's a hospital here in Colorado called National Jewish, and it's respiratory health.
Yes.
So my mom was like, I'm just going to bring her there. Got me in, and the doctors did all the tests and came out and said, we've never done this with a child this young, but your daughter's got severe asthma. And not just severe asthma, but all 3 types, and she's severe in all 3 types. And so we may want to, keep her inside, make it very sterile and serene.
This is, I'm forgetting the movie where they put the boy in the bubble.
Man in the bubble.
Man in the bubble?
Yeah, that's what, there was conversation, right? Which was very weird back in the 70s. Oh no, but you can Google it. So it was very weird, but growing up, my mom was like, I'm not gonna do that to her, but we won't have a dog or a cat, and we won't have her spend the night at friends' houses. We'll have them all come over here. So I didn't really know. I mean, I knew I was missing school a lot, with the asthma and in and out of hospitals. And at the same time, I had a brother who had a brain tumor, who was he was 2 years younger, almost 2 years younger than me. And he ended up passing away 5 days after my 5th birthday. So so there was a lot going on. And I feel bad for mom, because in the hospital, she's running to see me, running to see him. So it was a lot as a kid.
Sorry,
I talk fast.
No. But let's break that down.
Okay, let's unpack.
At 5, could you process that?
No. So what ended up happening was my brother at one point sat up, and he was in a coma. And he sat up and he looked at the end of the bed and he started talking to someone. And, I didn't see anybody. So of course I'm like, whatever. And he's like, no, mommy, it's the tooth fairy. The tooth fairy's here. And I distinctly remember him saying, no, tooth fairy, I don't want to go yet. So that was weird as a kid, right? Mom still reminds me of that. But the day he passed, my parents left me at home, didn't bring me to the hospital. And they came home and my mom said, Amy, I have to tell you, but Donnie died. And I started laughing. And my mom's like, Amy, what is wrong? And I go, Mom, you're silly. Only old people die. So then after that, I get this imaginary friend named Julie, who was just a hellion. She got in a lot of trouble. She did a lot of bad things, that Julie girl. But so I think that's how I processed it, right? Was having another best friend, albeit imaginary. So I don't know if there's some shrinks out there, let's unpack that and see what's going on inside. But it was very, it was hard. And I don't remember a lot of that time. I remember probably 2 years after. And I remember before he was born.
You still take time to reflect on that? Or no?
No, I don't. No. I don't. It's hard. Like today I met a dog who had the same name as my brother. And I was like, ooh, that's weird. Right?
Yeah.
Who names their dog Donnie? It's a weird name.
Yes, it's odd when you give dogs.
Although my dog's name is Dylan, but he's named after a lake.
Okay. My name is my dog's name is Bane. Oh. And he bites people. He actually, we got Jeff. He came to the wedding. I don't know if you ever saw that. You did.
You did?
Yes, and it cleared the crowd real quick. No, I'm joking. He's a Dutch Shepherd.
Yes.
Which
like a Malinois?
Yes.
Yes.
So in the military and police forces, they use really 2 main breeds: the Dutch Shepherds and the Belgian Malinois. And he is sweet with the family, but if you come to the front door and you're a stranger, even Will, he's like, I don't want to come into the house.
Even you, and you are Mike Part 2.
Yeah, when he comes into the office, it's a little different, but I mean, we do have a young woman who's great. She's a workhorse. She's from Brazil, Naira, who's a little scared of Bane. That's a fair assessment. All dogs.
Oh, really? Okay.
It must. I don't want to say it's a Brazilian thing because that'd be wildly.
Well, yeah, no, I don't think it. I don't know that it. I think it's a Malinois thing.
Yeah.
I mean, I love every dog, but I'll see one and it does take you back for a minute, and you're like, oh, Bubba.
we are dog people. Who was it? Dave Bautista has saved a lot of dogs. He's also been a big dog advocate. Dogs are a better judge of character than most human beings.
Amen.
Yeah.
Amen. My first dog picked my husband. Did you, right?
I don't know if that's the criteria, Amy, that I would utilize to marry another human being. Tom, how do you what is...
No, it was just...
What does that entail? Like, he sniffed him?
No, so like...
Is this how low your standards are?
No! Well, look at who I married. My standards are very low.
Oh, well.
I'm kidding.
Grasson's a great name.
Grasson's a great... No, what happened was, so I was seeing... Are you okay if I say this? I was seeing some baseball guys. Are we okay with that? Okay, I'm a jock, so you can't call me a jock sniffer, so otherwise you would. But I was dating some baseball guys, and they would come over and bring her balls, and she would drop them and look at them and like go outside and never come back in. Tom comes over and brings nothing. He's wearing like biking pants, which for first time you meet someone, I don't know.
When you say biking pants, what?
I mean biking pants.
Like leather chaps? What is this?
Oh no, that would have been better. No, you know the cute little things that the women wear when they spin?
I think I was riding a bike.
No, you were, but you...
You just said the thing that women wear, so...
When we go spin class?
Yes, but so he was wearing women's pants.
Well, I don't know if they were women's pants. They might have been. I'm not. Listen, I was not into it at that time, so we had just met. But he came over and he was wearing the little biking shorts because he was biking, and I was like, "Wow, that's a confident man." A, B, okay, and then C, my dog liked him.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, you need to know apparently all the goods before you buy it.
The public now knows the story. I guess my wife had 2 dogs,
Okay.
and they liked me.
Good.
I did, but there's much more there. We'll unpack that on a different story.
Let's do that. Yeah.
So I did read at 6.
Yeah.
You were going to multiple doctors, and finally one doctor said, "Hey," and I don't know if this is it's so similar to the Mark Spit story, because Mark had.
Asthma
as well.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I think I'm right there. If somebody pulls it up on Mark Spitz, he had asthma, and that's how he got over it. But he basically said, "Hey, listen," and was this a doctor you liked that said, looked at your mom, said, "Hey, listen, get your daughter in the pool. She's going to work through this."
Exactly, because he was like, "We need to exercise your lungs," right? But at the time, I was so weak. There were a lot of nights where my parents had to carry me upstairs because I couldn't take the stairs.
You are kidding me.
No. Oh, no. When I swam in the Olympics, my lung capacity was 63% because I couldn't take the medicine.
Compared to a
100% person who's next to me.
A woman of your age group.
My age, height, weight, all the things. The girls I was swimming against.
You were at roughly 37% disadvantage.
Correct. Yeah. So already you're behind the 8 ball, right? But, so I had this my whole life. I couldn't really take the meds to help me get better once I started swimming. But before that, when the doctor said you should start swimming, dude, I tried out for everything. I tried diving. I'm not coordinated. Tom will tell you, I'm not coordinated.
I don't know how
all
most
the
people do
things.
that.
No. And that hippy skippy jumpy thing, right, that they do. Have you seen this now?
Yes.
And I watch to see who's going to rip their foot off. I don't even care about the dive. I just want to make sure everyone's safe. Don't rip your foot off. But I did that. I did synchro. And then I tried swim team, and I loved swim team. But, and I know everyone's like, well, yeah, we know the end of the story. But it took me 6 more years until I was 12 years old until I could finish 25 yards of
I
swimming.
read that.
Yeah.
So when you first got in the pool, what was it like? Go 5 meters and then
stop
and stand up?
Yeah, hang on the lane line. Yep, all the things. Gasp for air. I always
Holy hell.
Until the day I retired, I always had 2 inhalers, one at one end of the pool, one at the other end of the pool, just in case. I was pulled out several times by the paramedics.
Hypoxic.
Yeah, well, because my lips were turning blue, but it was a set that I loved, right? I wanted to compete with the boys, and I could do that. And I was just stupid in doing that. But when I was 6, if we're going back to that really quickly, I was there. I was finally, for the first time, doing things that my friends were doing. We were buying the swimsuits, we were eating the Jell-O, we were doing all the things. And it didn't really matter that I was not a good swimmer to them, right? And so I kind of felt like, well, now I feel like at home. And when I finished that first length of the pool, man, you would have thought that I was like the next coming of, well, let's use the name, Mark Spitz. But it was just that everyone was excited to go to lunch.
So we naturally think, Jeff is like 5'5".
Oh God, on a
5'6".
good day.
Sorry to Robbie here.
On a good day.
Tom, you're what?
6'3" or 4.
6'3" or 4, but you were also a collegiate level baseball player.
Correct.
Also kicking for the football team at the time, or
No, I switched over after. Decided I wanted to start playing football.
in college?
Yeah.
In college. So, I mean, Tom, you look at Tom and you're like, oh, yeah, the guy's built like it.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, you should have seen him when he had the booty. Oh, let me tell you.
Oh, did he have glutes? He was working glutes?
I am an ass legs man. And so when that guy in those little girly, whatever shorts he was wearing that day, I was like, yes, please, whatever that is, I will take 5. Thank you.
I remember Jeff telling me a story about, he's a little bit of a ladies' man.
Oh, yes, he is.
But he said he met some gals.
Was.
He met some gals in Detroit out in town on like a Friday, and he said, hey, would you guys like to go to a football game? I've got some tickets to the Detroit Lions. And he's like, I just set this up perfectly. He's like, so I told him to come to this, like, whatever, the box office or the
Yes, the will
ticket
call,
office.
yep.
Yeah, the will call.
Yeah.
And he's like, he had this half-cut shirt, which when you see a guy in a half-cut shirt now, you're like, okay,
Looks like
that's
a guy
bold
in
move.
biking spandex
Yeah.
shorts. It's the same
So he's
thing.
got his little tight football pants on,
Oh,
and
God.
he comes out, and they didn't realize he was part of the actual Detroit Lions, and he's like, oh, I was in after that. But he set it up beautifully, the mastery. So the manipulation.
Yeah, Soupy is a legend in his own mind.
Before we keep going.
Oh, well, yeah.
I am 5'6". I started at 6'4". Lead me into 5'6".
Jeff is saying he started, he's 5'6", but he on paper started at 6'4". So, and for the fans, Jeff is the famous, what year was it? Where you guys beat Nebraska? It was the reverse? 86, which is a famous play in University of Colorado Boulder football. But the point I'm getting to is people naturally think that you guys just have this, it's nature versus nurture.
Right.
That you are born this way.
Sure.
I mean, because you are tall for
Correct.
women.
I'm 6 feet tall.
6 feet tall.
Yep. I've got huge hands, huge feet. I'd be an amazing
so
man.
you didn't have to work as hard as the other athletes because you had a physical.
I wish.
Here's what
I wish.
So you had a disability going in. I don't want to call it a disability.
Well, yeah.
You had this asthma where your lung capacity was not. Talk to me about how much more did you have to work than the girls, even in high school around you,
Right.
who didn't make it nearly as far as you did. I mean, so
Correct.
they're going to practice. Are you doing something beyond that?
In high school, no. In high school, I would just practice in the morning and the afternoon with the team. But then when it was over, then it was morning, and then you go to school, and then you lift weights maybe at lunch, and then you swim again for another 2 hours at night, right? So maybe that was a little extra. I'm not sure. But then, of course, once I got out of college and started just full-on training, then I was definitely doing more than a lot of other people were doing. And you have to also remember, when I'm also struggling to breathe, that's also a workout. So like if we did a practice that was 7,000 meters, my body felt
It's
like
14.
it went 14. Yeah.
To them.
Yeah.
But you set multiple records
I did.
in high school.
I did.
You're already now at the national level.
Yes.
You actually brought in the I think your high school championship?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So you're getting looked at.
Mm-hmm.
Does that, I've always wondered, did you have a different high school experience than, let's say, there was nothing special about me in high school? Nothing. Huh. And I'm fine with that.
Sure.
And I had a great time in high school.
Did you?
Don't get me wrong.
Nice.
It was fun. If didn't do too well in high school, but parties and we had a lot of fun. I mean, San Jose, California was a great place to grow up. Where other people were going to parties and everything else, did you feel like you had a different high school experience?
I did, because I had Saturday morning practice. So I couldn't go out on Friday because I've got to be at the pool at 6 a.m. And then Saturday night, I was so exhausted, and I really had to catch up on homework and all of that. I did not do great in high school either, so bless. But yeah, I mean, I really didn't have the full high school experience. I was also what you would consider a nerd. So I was pretty tall. So in high school, I was...
Braces?
I did.
You had braces?
I did. I had the perm. I had the mall bangs.
Perm was so awful. What was your generation thinking?
Don't know. My hair's still ruined from that.
I look back at, like, my sister was 80s in high school.
Yeah.
And in her yearbook has a guy leaning on a Ferrari with the sweater, intertwined and the short shorts. Yeah.
We have no idea what happened back then, but I had it all going on. Plus I was 5'10". I weighed 125 pounds.
So you're towering over some of the boys.
Exactly. So I always walked hunched over as close as I could to the wall. And I was bullied pretty bad in high school.
You're kidding me.
No, like pretty bad. Yeah. There were used tampons on my locker. My suits were cut off all the time because we would hang our suits on our locker and lock them up so they could dry. They were cut off almost all the time. There was one time where I went out to my car and there was a paper bag on my hood, and I'm like, what is this? And it says dog shit for dog shit.
What, if it brings you any joy, the people that did that are probably morbidly obese now.
Well, one of them was
wildly unhappy.
One of them was my server at Chili's.
No kidding.
Mm-hmm. Which, not that that's bad,
no.
But it was just, I hadn't seen her since high school, and it was very awkward and all the things. And, the thing is, when kids are picking on other kids, I'm like, you better be careful, because you don't know what that kid's going to do. You don't know if that kid's going to be a famous actor, a great, like the president. You don't know. So be nice to everybody. Don't be a dick.
So I tell that to my son. There was a poem from Tecumseh that we used to say when he was little. And I always told him just be like, it was always like, you stand against bullies. Yeah. You're kind and respectful to everyone. But I told him, like, well, he doesn't understand this, but there was a guy who went to my high school. Okay. And his name is Bass Nectar, which is a famous musician. And I was listening to this music when I'm in Afghanistan, Iraq, and other places. And I didn't realize it until I read some articles. I'm like, oh my God, my graduating class. But I don't think anyone gave him a hard time. He was a nice guy, but he wasn't one that drew a lot of attention because he wasn't an athlete. He wasn't overly academic.
Right.
And you don't know where people are going to end up. And for those being bullied in high school,
you don't know where you're going to end up.
There was Paul Rudd, I think, sent a note to a kid who was being bullied recently. He said, hey, give it time.
Yep.
Give it time.
Seriously.
Things will wildly change.
Seriously. Yeah. And it does. It does for a lot of people. You end up, and I almost think when you have that experience, it makes you stronger. And so you can push further, and you're just like, you know what? All these people don't like me anyway, so who cares? I'm just going to go be me. I'm going to do my thing. And it taught me how to be my own person at an early age.
I will say this. So I was small in high school.
Okay.
I wrestled at 119 at one point. I was a cross country and track runner. And I wasn't bullied, but I would stand up to bullies.
Good.
And I would get my ass beat down. And my dad, who was much bigger, who played football in high school and went on to play football beyond that, he said he feared it because he joined the Army.
Okay.
He actually played football for the Army. This is during Vietnam.
Wow.
When base football teams were huge. It was a point of pride. Wow. So that kept him from going to Vietnam. But he's like, I always knew you were going to go into the military because you always went against bullies. When other kids were getting bullied, I'd run across the field and just shoulder check the guy and then get beat down afterwards. But
wow,
it's amazing where you go back, 20, 25, 30 years later, and you're like, wow, how history has changed things. You stayed in high school and all of us moved beyond.
Yeah.
That's not everyone. I mean, there's bullies that learn and they're resentful or remorseful for what they did.
Exactly, which is great. Kids are kids, I mean, come on, we got to give them a break. But at the same time, just be nice to everybody.
It's how far that carries in life. Be kind, be respectful, be empathetic.
Absolutely.
Be non-judgmental.
Thank you.
Yeah. How many schools were recruiting you out of high school?
2. That's another funny story, right?
You weren't getting looks from Stanford and
no, and actually, the Stanford coach had told me later, he's like, that was the biggest recruiting mistake I've ever made.
What was it on paper that they...
I am not sure. I know I had a really fast 50 freestyle, right, which is the one lapper.
But in high school, you actually set the national, or correct me here.
So I qualified for the 1992 Olympic trials.
In high school?
In high school, yeah, and I still only got recruited by 2 schools, University of Arizona, Colorado State, and I went to both.
Well, I know, we're definitely going to get to
Which
that.
Which is cool, yeah. So I didn't get as many looks as you would think. The class that I was in was pretty stacked. You had, at the time, coming out of high school, world record holders, American record holders in my events. So, of course, they're going to give the money to that person. I would, too.
You chose Arizona.
I did.
Why did you choose Arizona? Because was it your freshman year or your sophomore year you transferred to Colorado State?
It was right before my junior year.
Okay.
Yeah, so I was there for 2.5 years. I loved it. I grew up in Colorado. I wanted to go somewhere that was warm with palm trees.
Was that mainly the...
Well, no, let me tell you the truth. So on my recruiting trip, they try to take you to places that you're going to enjoy, right? So they brought me to the football game. They brought me to an ice hockey game.
And University of Arizona football is huge at this time.
back then was the Desert
Yes.
Swarm,
I
right?
remember
The
this.
defense, they were
Yeah, on
amazing.
ESPN, on the
they were
cover,
everywhere.
yeah.
Yeah, Teddy Bruschi, oh, amazing. But so we went to all that, and then they brought me to fraternity row with
Done.
a bunch of men that were tanned and sweaty with their shirts off doing beer bongs. I'm like,
Your husband's in the room.
that's fine. He
Okay.
knows. He doesn't drink too, which is really
He's like,
funny.
I had a college experience as well. I'm
Still
good.
here, honey. Oh, he did. We don't need to talk
Yeah.
about his college experience. It was way, way seedier than mine, but that's okay. But yeah, so that's why I went there. It was just, I thought it looked like a fun school, had a great swim program. They gave me, a partial scholarship, which was pretty cool. So
Partial?
yeah. I got room, board, and books paid for. So, a lot of the stuff. I had to pay for classes, which,
Something is seeming wildly off here. What,
I don't know.
What did Colorado State?
Colorado State
Full?
was like full ride, and they were like, we are actually changing our team for you.
But did they offer you a full
Yeah.
out of high school?
Colorado State did, yes. And I should have gone there in the beginning, but you know what? You're 18 and you feel like you know everything, and you're like, nah, I'm going to Arizona.
that's the problem.
Yeah, but you don't know everything, right? And I remember when I went to CSU, and the swim coach was like, I didn't know you were swimming for me. And I'm like, because I'm not. And he's like, well, why not? And I'm like, I don't like swimming anymore. I just got over mono, found out at 19 I would never have kids. Like, it was kind of a rough year for me. So I'm done. And he goes, well, how about this? I'll pay for your school for a whole year, but give me one semester. And if you don't like it after a semester, you can quit and I'll pay for your year. Again, I'm not smart, but the mathematics made sense to me. I'm like, sure. So we go out there, the very first swim meet, I go and I'm #1 in the country by a lot in all of my events. And I was like, maybe I just needed a change of scenery, and it was awesome. We did great things at Colorado State.
Fort Collins is a great town.
Isn't it amazing?
Yeah.
Gorgeous.
Gorgeous. Downtown
Pickle
is. Yeah.
It's amazing. And the Pickle Barrel, if you ever go back, go to the Pickle Barrel, get a Funky Punky sandwich. It's a sandwich place. It is so good. We might have to go later with the space that you're giving me. I'm just very upset.
It sounds like a whole lot of cornball. Or what is it? What is it? Cornhole? Cornhole?
Cornhole, that's right.
I come from San Francisco.
Oh, bless.
There were certain cultural issues. I went to Texas A&M.
Right. Oh, you did? Nice.
Oh, yeah.
Nice.
Right from the Marine Corps.
Yeah.
And right to Texas A&M. And I remember flying in to, or not flying in, but driving into College Station. And like the tears. Now I'm what? I've got to be like 23. Like the tears coming down my eyes. I'm like, this was a culture shock. Have you ever been to Texas A&M?
I have. I love
College
it.
Station?
I have. I've been in that swimming
Love it
pool.
because you visited for 2 days.
I swam really fast.
Love it,
I'm
okay.
that fool. I swam
All
really
right.
fast.
It's
Was it not
no.
good?
Texas A&M is a great university. It's a very unique culture. It was just a culture shock from living in San Diego.
Sure. Yeah. I get that.
And so I finished college in 3 years and got the hell out of there. Still proud to be an Aggie. Also proud to be a Longhorn. Very conflicted.
There you go.
Yeah.
Hook 'em horns.
Hook 'em horns
right?
and Gigamags.
You're right.
So it seems like it was at Colorado State that you just started.
I did.
Yeah. Was it the change of scenery, or was it the coaches and mentors, or was it a combination of
All of
everything?
it. All of it. Right? It was all of it. The coach was amazing. I guess he went up to my husband and he told me, he goes, when Amy came here, I actually changed my entire program for her so that it would benefit her so she could swim fast. And it was that. We had one lane with sprinters that had never been done before, so we were all sprinting together. But it was also, the team was amazing. Not that U of A wasn't. It was. But it was boys and girls, and that can always cause, dating issues and all the things. When it was just the girls, it was awesome. There was no pressure because I'm at Colorado State, which at the time had never done anything really in swimming. We get there, we get to NCAA's my junior year, and I break American records, and Colorado State ended up 10th in the country. We had a gaggle of girls that came, and it was just awesome. I really, I wish I would have stayed there for the last year, just because I don't know what would have happened. But
So you didn't finish.
That's a contention in my family right now with my husband. Yeah, no, I'm 12 credits shy of graduating. So my husband took his University of Colorado degree and put it on the wall with my high school diploma under it. So I took off my high school diploma and I put a world record plaque right under that sucker. I win. I win.
So it's safe to say that competition makes the world go round in the Van Dyken-Rouen.
Oh, the Rouen house is a hot mess of competition.
Yeah.
Like awful. Like it's not even that cute, but it's fun. It like keeps you alive, right? And we've been married 21 years together. What, 25? million. And
Isn't that a statistical anomaly now?
correct.
25 years.
Well, not only that, but you also have two people that are athletes. The fact that we're still together.
Hold on.
Well, I mean,
hold on, because I've been waiting for this one. I mean, do you sometimes say, "Hey, well, I'm the only real athlete in the house"?
Well, all the
and
time.
Tom, I'm not trying to.
All the time.
Because like place kickers, they make fun of you guys.
right?
Yes.
Right? But what's funny is place kickers don't like to get hit, and he was a punter, and he liked to hit things because he started off as a linebacker back in high school, right? So he wanted to hit things. And the panic for me, I was out of town one day, and they're playing in Philly, and all of a sudden I see him punt, and I'm like, great. And then the next thing they show is him laughing, shoulder pad hanging out. I'm like, what happened?
He shoulder checked.
Well, he was mouthing off to one of the guys on the other team. He's like, nice try, MFer. Sorry, everybody. And the guy ran back and just jacked him in the back. And Tom's like, how did I end up on the ground?
Penalty? Penalty?
No.
No? The wrestling?
No. They let the people actually play football.
You know, one of the greatest like stereotypes of place kickers, which who wouldn't want their son to be grow up to be a place kicker?
Right.
Like you're like the longevity of it, you say, but the replacements with Keanu Reeves. Do you remember the guy who was the kicker? Wiry.
That was the best one.
Yeah.
We've seen that 100 times at least.
It's sort of set the mantra for kickers.
For all kickers, yeah. No, I don't talk about that because he's very athletic. Actually, John Elway.
Baseball at
San Diego State.
San Diego State, and then switched to Boulder to the football team.
Yep. But John Elway said that Tom Ruin was one of the best athletes in the locker room. Yeah. So I don't have him on that, but I do have him on this. He's only won 2 Super Bowls. I've won 6 gold medals. So I win. I'm not smart, but I know that 4 or 6 is more than 2 by 4. So I
don't want to be part of those conversations. There's so many ways you can take that.
Oh, so many ways. Let's go. Let's do it. But yeah, no. So I never make fun of his athletic because it's just he was really good at kicking a football, like really good at it. He could have done other things, but I couldn't have done anything other than swim.
I beg to differ. It's just the one thing you focused on.
I did. I fell into, and I loved it.
Just the fact for all the young men and young women listening right now to have 63% lung capacity compared to the people you're competing at in the Olympics, that's just grit. That's just obsession and desire. Mm-hmm. I'm sure there was a lack of balance in your life at that point.
Very much so. Very much so. It was all swimming all the time. But I was fortunate I met Tom during that time, and he was also competing. And so like he knew if I came home late, like why?
There was that commonality.
Exactly. Exactly. If he didn't come home until like midnight hanging out with the boys, I get it. Like you have to do that. But like it got to the point where I would wake up, go to swim practice, and then we had someone back in the day deliver meals, which was unheard of because I couldn't cook. Yeah. Right? I didn't have time. I didn't have the energy. So that's what we did, and it worked out great for both of us. So
that's interesting that 2 people within the professional level understood, and they didn't want to take away from your desire to succeed within that realm. That sounds like a perfect pairing.
I think so too.
In a lot of ways.
I think so too. And he wouldn't marry me until after 2000 because he didn't want me to go into the '96 Olympics with the last name Ruin. Can you imagine?
Branding. I get it.
Yeah. Branding's a little rougher. The Wheaties box doesn't look as good with that.
What was it like? Because you left in college, you set world records or U.S. records?
I set American records in college.
You were the second woman in history to go below 22 seconds.
Correct.
In the 50-meter freestyle.
50-yard freestyle. Yeah.
What was it like? Because I remember talking to a guy named John Welborn. John Welborn was, I think, the Green Bay Packers for a lot of time. But I said, man, it must have been going from college, because he played at Cal Berkeley, to the NFL. That must have been just a wild leap. He said, no, actually high school to college was. But everyone in the NFL everyone was good.
Yeah.
Was there a major leap from college to the Olympic trials and then Olympics?
Not really. No, because a lot of the people that I swam with or against
were in the
Olympic trials. Right. Now what made the distinction was the Olympics. Now that's real stuff. That is definitely different. You watch these people swim and you're like, "Oh my gosh." Like they're floating on the water. Cuz that's what you want to do as a swimmer,
but
right?
So are you, but
correct.
There's this perception of they're just that much better.
Correct. And you have to remember going into 96, no one knew who I was. No one cared. Like all the major media was focusing on other people, so it was amazing. And so I could just sit there and watch and take it all in until we started swimming. And then it got gnarly. It was fun.
Were the nerves, were the nerves different than the NCAA finals and Olympic trials than?
Not at Olympic trials. No, at Olympic trials, I equate it very closely to the NCAA's
finals.
Correct. But there's a lot of pressure, right? Like, we don't have once a year to make the Pro Bowl. So it's once every 4 years. And
you're just taking hits at your
constant
yes,
hits,
okay.
constant hits at these boys. But yeah, no, it's like, and he even says it. He's like, it sucks because you only have once every 4 years. And if something is wrong, you catch a cold, you get mono, whatever, you're done. And that's it. You have 4 more years. And it's hard on the body to swim like that. So, it was tough. And, there's a lot of emotions at Olympic trials. There's a lot of highs. There's a lot of lows. A lot of people that are supposed to make the team aren't making the team. They're crying. People are making the team that you've never heard of. They're laughing, and it's crazy. So
this sounds like an emotional roller coaster.
It is.
Or sorority. Yeah.
Yes, with the sorority. Yes. So you have to. Again, I wasn't in a sorority.
Or I should better say a fraternity, which are more emotional than sororities.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah, guys. You put guys together. Like the SEAL teams are one big sorority.
Sorority.
Oh yeah, we often call it the sorority.
Okay.
A lot of drama.
Naked pillow
fights? A lot of tears. No naked pillow fights. That's not happening.
Sorry,
a lot of duct tape. But we want to take it beyond that.
Yes.
I can understand that. So you've got friends who bank their entire lives on this, and all of a sudden it's just like, hey, you're not good enough.
Yeah, missed the team by 100th of a second. Right, when you're a world record holder, like it's just not. But you get it.
Oh, you're saying world record holders just had a bad performance and didn't make the team.
Didn't make it. I had one friend, world record holder in the 400 IM, and in 1996 she was expected to do all these great things. She got disqualified in prelims. Never got to swim.
Did she make the 2000?
No, because she got pregnant and had her baby. Who now, when I work for Pac-12 Network, I cover this baby.
Oh, she's swimming.
It's a he. Yeah, it's a he. And so,
her son is
a swimmer at Cal.
That's great.
Right? She went to USC. And so that's very weird to see her in Cal stuff.
Yeah.
but that happened to her. And, she always wonders where her life would have gone if she would have made the 96 team in that event. She made the 96 team in another event, but just not in her best event.
So I've got to say, for Olympic athletes, it seems like they get, the best word is hosed. Mm-hmm. So, and Will, remembers this one. There's a gal named Annika Newell,
mm-hmm.
and Annika was on our podcast, and she's American Canadian dual citizen. She is a pole vaulter for Canada, but you hear the stories and how unsupported they are. And Annika, what I love about Annika is she calls it. She has this bad bitch personality.
Yeah.
She's got tattoos, and I need to link you guys up because you would be a coach mentor to her. But she made it to the finals on the Olympics this last go around and just had a bad performance and didn't qualify on any of the jumps. But she's like, I'm going to place in France. But the bottom line is, it's just like the countries get behind their athletes in that moment, and then it's just like
done.
Have a great 3 years. 4 years. We'll see you again if you make it.
Correct.
But yet NCAA athletes are now, the NIL are making.
They're making some money. It's funny to see that too. You've got this 18-year-old kid making $4 million. You're like, what is happening here? I don't know how I feel about that, right? Like, I get it where the kids are like, they're using my name, my likeness, and making all this money for the school, and I'm making all this money for the school. I personally wasn't because I'm a swimmer, but the revenue sports, right?
Well, I mean, we've got two here. Hey, some of these kids, their career is going to end in college. If they make a little money, I'm actually proud for them.
Okay.
I know it'll change the integrity of the game, but are you guys thumbs up or thumbs down, or still trying to figure it out?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm thumbs down. Yeah,
Is that a generational thing because it skipped you guys? And I'm being honest. That's just like, back in the day, quarterbacks took hits, and now they're overly protected.
It's just jealousy, but
sugar.
No, I think there's a lot of problems with it.
It's happening too fast.
It's happening too fast. The funny thing is, you watch this. This is completely off topic, but there will be a whole industry created around this alone. From I'm trying to think of the crypto. What are the likeness, NFTs?
NFTs, yeah.
NFTs to agents, it's going to be interesting. And I know Jimbo Fisher and Nick Saban are in a little tiff right now because Texas A&M saw the opportunity and get on them. That's first, I want to say first mover advantage, but they moved quickly. So in 96, you walk away with 4 gold medals. One, the 50.
The 50 free.
The, was it the 100 butterfly?
100 butterfly.
And then the 2 team 4x.
Yep. So I did the 400 free relay at the 400 medley relay. Something funny is you'd think that because I got 4th in the 100 free and 1st in the 100 butterfly on that medley relay, they're going to swim butterfly, right? I said after I won, I'm never swimming that again. So I talked the coaches into letting me swim the freestyle leg. I'd never swam butterfly again.
On the
My time was really fast on the relay for free.
Quicker than your individual performance?
Correct. So actually, I had an individual performance, right? I got 4th. Again, I felt bad because, when you quote unquote lose, which I felt 4th was losing because I'm an American, right? Like we don't send people there to get 4th. We send people there to come home with a medal. So I felt like not only at that moment did I let myself and my family and all these people down, but like I let my country down.
So you walk away with 4 gold medals and you feel like you've let your country down.
Well, this was
because of
before
one
that
event.
happened. This was before.
So that was the first event.
First event ever of the Olympics, like the first event that went off on the Olympics.
Let's break this down for those listening. When you had that performance where you finished 4th,
Yeah.
you're sort of demoralized. Is that an accurate?
Yeah, it was not good. Yes, I was demoralized. Also,
So what did you do to reset to prepare to win 4 gold medals in that same?
right. Well, here's the thing. If you tell me not to do something and you tell me I'm not
isn't that
good
the
enough to
greatest
do
power?
it, don't do it if you want me to do it, right? So what happened was I ended up collapsing on the deck with leg cramps.
I remember this.
Right.
I remember this as a kid.
Do you?
Yes.
I love that. So yeah, I collapsed. The Olympics are now
Kid.
stopped.
I'm sorry. As a young man. Yeah. I'm in high school.
I swear to God, I will frickin' beat all of you within Listen, you can kill me with a paperclip, but I can run your ass over with this wheelchair. Let's just not.
I have no doubt. Plus, I got a hip replacement. It's hard to get away.
So I collapsed with the leg cramps. I went back and I had dinner, did the massage, all the things, and then I went back into my room.
You diva. Massage.
Now,
We didn't have that in the SEAL teams.
You didn't?
Combat mission. No, hey, I need a massage. Well, it'd be another guy.
can you imagine? Well, that might be fun. I mean, I'm not going to say no. I'm not
You
going to
would
say
love to watch that as a woman. Yeah, I
I would have
understand.
loved to have. Oh, yeah.
No, so
anyway,
yeah.
So I collapsed with leg cramps, and then I go back to my room, and the head Olympic coach, whose swimmer was one that I had competed against forever, and she's an amazing athlete, and I don't want to take anything away from her, but I beat her out in the events. So he tells me, he goes, I don't think you're ready for these Olympics, and I think you should maybe think about going home. Because he, again, he has a swimmer, and he goes, it'll all be taken care of. There will be, someone can pull up the slack. And I thought to myself, whoa, dude, who are you to tell me what I can and can't do? Like,
He doesn't have the right to pull you.
you don't have the right to pull that, right? And I was like, you know what, coach, I'm going to go to sleep. If I mess up again, let's talk. But then I hear out in the hallway, he's out there with my personal coach, who was a coach on the team, and the other Olympic coaches, and they were all yelling and screaming
At one another.
at one another.
So basically, the head coach is a figure who can't technically.
He can't do that.
Yes.
Right. He has to have the backing of everybody else.
Yeah.
So they were going to take me off the relay the next day. I talked my way into it and went the fastest split that has ever been swum in the history of that event.
To this day.
Not to this day,
Okay.
right? Because
But
we're
to
getting
that
faster.
point.
To that point. And I just remember thinking to myself, don't tell me to go home.
Is there a little bit of you get out of the pool and you look at this this older? Is it a woman or a man?
It was a man.
Man of like, F you.
What I did was actually I went up to him and I was like, hey, coach, what was my split?
And you already knew.
I already knew because the Dutch team had already told me, right? Because my grandfather came from the Netherlands.
God bless the Dutch.
God bless the Dutch. I love them. I'm Dutch.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
Grandpa came from Holland. And so I'm second generation American. Yeah. They still love all the sweets and all the yummies that all the Dutch people love. Yeah. But yeah, and then we went on to, the next day was the 100 butterfly, and I swam in the morning, and that same coach who told me to go home told me he thinks I can win it. And I was like,
F you. Fuck you.
Exactly. That's exactly what was going through my head, was like, who do you think you are? Like, stop. So he and I never really had a conversation after that. And he was even the coach in 2000, and we never really talked. But I went on to break history, first American woman to win 4 golds and 1 games. It's only been tied, never broken. And I will be there when it's broken, because it will be broken.
I've seen such an array of just don't count anyone out. Is just give them guidance and let their performance determine
Yes.
the judgment for you. And people have turned it around. And some people haven't.
Right.
And you don't judge on their character. It's not a judgment of character.
Correct.
They just didn't perform to that level. They may be successful somewhere else. But,
Yes.
I've had, and God, my story is small, but I remember a family friend who happened to be, I think it was 4th or 5th grade teacher, told my mom that your son will never amount to anything.
Stop it.
Oh, yeah. And now we look back and it's like your kids have done nothing even remotely close to my level. It's not a
Correct.
judgment on the character. Same thing with a certain coach at high school. Basically told my parents, like, hey, this kid's not going to. And yet, for all the athletes he's coached, none of them have ever achieved anything on the level that I have. And it's not, I'm throwing this in your face.
Right.
It's give people a chance because you never know what's going to happen.
You
in life.
never know. So if you are one of those kids, right, that are being told that you can't be anything, listen,
Use that.
use
as fuel.
it. But also
use that as fuel.
look at it. The reason that they're saying that is they're jealous. Jealousy is a nasty lady.
But there may also be some points there if you
Well,
can
sure.
if you can look at it subjectively and be like, hey, they may be right on this certain thing. I need to tweak this.
Correct.
I do need to tighten up this. But whatever they say, whatever judgment they have passed,
Yep.
F you.
Agreed.
I'm moving forward, and I will show you.
Yep.
So let's actually, I want to go to a mid-roll break, and we're going to come
Okay.
back and then.
Okay.
So we end the mid-roll break with 2 questions.
Okay.
We call these the hard questions.
Oh, no, I know, I'm so
we got to
nervous.
put you on the hot seat.
Okay.
Hardest decision you've ever had to make.
Oh my God. Hardest decision I've ever had to make. I think I've got 2 now. Can I give you 2? One in my professional, one in my personal.
Yo, that is actually great.
Okay, so-
classified, yes.
Okay,
because
so-
you classified it that way.
Yeah.
I will grant you approval.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, sir.
Yes.
So my first one professionally was retiring from swimming.
Yeah, I thought you were going to say.
Hardest thing in the world ever, but it needed to be done. The hardest thing.
Why?
Okay, so good question. So I had 2 career-ending shoulder surgeries, one 6 months to the day of the Olympic trials in 2000. And it was really hard to put me back together, but I wanted to keep doing it. Like my mind wanted to keep going because I loved the sport. My body couldn't keep up.
Yeah.
And so that was really hard, like leaving a sport that I loved so much, that had given me so much, that was my life. Then in my personal life, one of the hardest decisions ever that I made was, do I push after my accident? Like, do you push forward? Like, what do you do?
We are going to get to this.
Right.
We are going to get to this.
Like, what do you do? Do you strive to continue living, or do you shut it down?
Okay. Do you mind if we save that one?
We're going to put a pin in it.
Yeah. Okay. So, but biggest regret of your life?
Oh, it was a regret. Sorry.
No, that was the hardest decision. Now the second
Now
one
the
was,
biggest regret.
Yeah.
The biggest regret is how I acted in the 2000 Olympics. It was inappropriate, and I don't think that I had control of my emotions.
What aspect? What are you referring to specifically? Remember, we get vulnerable in this podcast.
I know. I made a comment that shouldn't have been made to a swimmer, and I got out of the water. She beat me, and I said to a friend, but the cameras were there, and I should have known it. I said, I could have swum that fast if I was a man. Inappropriate, disgusting. I look back at it now.
Teammate or
No,
different country?
Different country. She was from the Netherlands.
Were you making accusations of potential PED, performance-enhancing drugs?
No, I'm just saying she was swimming like a man.
Oh, okay.
Like the way she was swimming like a, and that's a compliment. I want people to understand, like, that's a compliment. Like, right? Like, you run like a man, you swim like a man, right? It was just not appropriate. Like, why do you need to, like, give her her moment, shut up, you had your moment, stop it. If I could go back and do anything over again, it would be that. And I don't have a lot of regrets in my life, that's one of them.
That is actually, thank you for that, because that's awesome. We've all said things where like, oh, I wish I could retract that.
Right.
It's just now that statement has a lot of relevancy given what's going on with.
Oh, sure,
Yeah.
sure. But yeah, it
Yeah.
had no implications of that at all.
Yeah.
It was just complimenting her on how well she was swimming. But yeah, it's just, I don't really have regrets. But and again, it was not just an incident between me and her, it went worldwide. Like the world now hates Amy.
That's media.
Right. And it spun and it went far and fast. And I dropped out of the spotlight because I was an ass and I needed to.
You know, as well as these guys, when you step onto the national or international stage, the smallest comment will be spun without any context behind it whatsoever. And
correct.
Yeah. I'm not a fan of media.
MSM,
but
mainstream media.
With that, we'll take a quick break and we'll be right back. And we are back with Amy Van Dyken-Rouen. And let's see, you're drinking.
This is a high noon vodka soda watermelon. What do you have now?
I've got a Cayman Jack Cuban mojito.
Yeah, okay, I'm going to warn you. It might not be the best. Cayman Jack margaritas, amazing. But it came in like a pack. I don't know if that's going to be good. If it's not, we'll trade.
It's not bad. It's not bad.
Is it drinkable?
It's drinkable.
Okay, good.
What's the difference between a Cuban mojito? Because I've had mojitos in Panama City, Panama.
Correct, which are the best. I have no idea what that is.
Except when you drink too many of them. There's a certain, like tequila, if you get drunk on tequila, you never want to, yeah.
Oh, I love tequila.
You've never had a tequila drunk, though?
Oh, yeah.
And you still drink it?
Oh, I love it. Oh, it makes me the happiest person ever. Whiskey, tequila, all the things that normally make people fight, I become like, I love you so much, just give me a hug.
I've noticed brown liquor. That's like my worst nights are brown liquor.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, well, we'll stay. Okay, but it's lovely to drink.
Well, so I've got to go. I'm not going to say this. There's a Moscow Mule.
Yeah.
There's a Kentucky Mule.
Yeah.
But most of the Kentucky whiskeys are now owned by like Japanese companies.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. Well, it's much like Budweiser's owned by. Trying to think of the name of the company. It's a Swedish company. We've got lights coming on here. We're good.
Whoa.
But a Mule 6 is a version of the Moscow Mule with whiskey, American whiskey, other than Kentucky.
Okay.
And so usually I mix it with Pendleton whiskey is one of my favorite.
Okay.
Out of Oregon, of all states.
Okay.
But they're also a sponsor of PBR.
Love it.
So
Love it.
After we go home from here, we're going to do the jump. We're rushing home on Sunday. I speak to, so the PBR, are you familiar with that?
Oh, yeah, the Pro Bull Riding Association.
Yeah.
Oh, I love
So they've
them.
now gone to a team format.
Okay.
You didn't know that?
I haven't heard that.
So they did a draft.
Stop.
And I'm in Austin.
Okay.
So Austin has one of the teams. I think there's 8 teams total. The Austin Gamblers. I've got to, you know what I'm going to do with all my podcasts is I'm going to bring select people back.
Yeah.
Like Michael Gaffney is one of the, goes down in history as one of the best bull riders in history.
Right.
Such a good man. But I want to bring, people like you, Annika, Michael Gaffney, like Dave Bautista, to just do a round table and for people to listen to that and just people in wildly different professions just talk about life and leadership and overcoming adversity, I think would be powerful. But Michael Gaffney is, for a guy who rode, and will correct me, 8,000 pound bulls, right? It's something. No. Maybe it's insane.
Yeah, he rode some nasty ones. And there, when he was riding, there was that one, and I can't remember, Tom would remember his name, but the bull was just nasty. And it seemed like he always got picked, that bull.
Like Yellow Jacket or something like that? It was like Yellow Jacket.
Something like that, yeah.
Those guys are crazy.
They're nuts. They're amazing.
So we were at, I don't know if you were with me. Some firefighters like, oh my God, I know you are. I'm like, what? You know who I am? I'm like,
love that.
I'm
Good.
like, okay. He's like, yeah, I follow your podcast. And he's like, you guys are crazy. I'm like, what do you do? He's like, I'm a fireman. I'm like,
that's crazy.
Hey, bro, I go to combat with 40 highly trained professionals.
Right.
We mitigate risk to where we know we're going to win the gunfight. And unfortunately, sometimes a man or two may not come back.
Sure.
But that is rare. You guys run into fire for which there is no, that is a wild variable for which you cannot account for.
Correct.
That is, in my opinion, I'm like, thank you for what you do.
Yes.
Because when I see fire, I go the other direction.
Exactly. And they go into it.
Yeah.
And don't, they just want to save people. I think it's so cool.
In first responders. I don't know why anyone would want to be a cop right now.
Oh, bless them.
Coming from, my grandfather was he was one of the lead detectives for San Francisco. He played for the Cleveland Indians for a short period of time.
Okay.
But back then, they were beloved. And now cops who are very important, and we're seeing this with the whole defund police. Well, look at the cities that did that, to include Denver. And
Whenever we see it, because, I live downtown, and whenever I meet the girls for a happy hour at Union Station, it's been 2 years since we've seen a police officer down there. So every time we see one, we're like, thank you for being here.
I would encourage people, if you see police officers, if you see first responders, go say thank you.
Yeah.
They need that.
Yep.
It reinforces that even though they're making a small amount of money,
Exactly.
is that they're doing something well beyond the money that they make.
Oh, yeah.
They're protecting lives, and they may lose in the in and outs of what they do day to day, 24/7, 365. They sometimes lose that perspective. But when it takes one person to come up and say, thank you for protecting my family.
Yeah.
Even when I was downrange, cops were like, oh, thank you for what you did. I said, thank you for protecting my family because I didn't have to worry about them when I was gone. But
That's
I
awesome.
know we divest. So the 2000 Olympics,
Right.
you are declared the Golden Girl of Colorado.
Right.
You're a media, I call it the dazzling darling.
Right.
And you decide to retire. But there's something that happens in your life that maybe will define you more so for the way you have reacted to it. 2014.
Yeah, June 6, 2014, right? So that day was crazy. Like always, I took my dog for a walk on the golf course, got yelled at. Some guy's like, you're not supposed to have dogs on the golf course. I'm like, well, you're not supposed to play shitty golf on this golf course. And I'm like, run. I went and I did my CrossFit, which I still to this day do every day. And I met the guy who owned the box. He had just gotten back from regionals, and his name was DJ. He was a firefighter, right? And he's like, we got firefighter games tonight. You want to come? And I'm like, absolutely not.
What's his last name?
DJ Bremmel.
I think he's been on the Cleared Hot podcast with Andy Stumpf. I think.
May have been.
Okay.
He may have been, yeah. Because what he did was crazy. So he gets a call that there is someone crashed on an ATV and it's a back injury. But they don't know who it is. Nobody knows who it is.
Did you know him before this?
I did. I worked out with him that morning.
Okay.
Right? Is that weird?
But take me. So you and your husband and a group of friends?
Just me and him.
Just
Me and him. We went to a restaurant, right? That was a quarter of a mile away from the house. I wanted to take my ATV because I was doing a radio show, Fox Sports Radio in LA. I wanted some good air. Sorry, LA, but let's be honest. I wanted some good air. So I was like, I'm going to take my ATV. You take your motorcycle. We'll be fine. And then we were going to come home and I was going to have some wine. And then we were going to watch Game of Thrones, which we've never watched.
Hey, funny enough, I just interviewed on Tuesday Jamie Lannister.
Oh, seriously?
Nikolai Coster Waldo.
Right.
Great dude.
Oh,
great dude.
Good.
Yeah. So I'm a Game of Thrones junkie as well.
See, but I never saw it because of my accident, right? Because what happened was...
That was going to be the first.
That was being the first time we were going to watch it, right? We were stoked. So, we finished dinner. I had trout and steamed broccoli. And the only reason I bring that up is not because, yes, it was a good, healthy meal, but I don't remember what I had for dinner last night. But I'm never going to forget that meal, and I'm never going to order it again. And then what happens is we stood up and said goodbye to everybody, and that's where my memory stops. We went out, and normally Tom would have taken off in front of me with his motorcycle, but if he would have, I wouldn't be here because he wouldn't have found me. So he was dilly-dinking with his motorcycle. I get on my ATV. He's like, you go first. This is what he's telling me. I don't remember any of this. And I went, and he said he looked up, and there was no scream, no flicker of a brake light. I hit a curb and went over a 6-foot cliff. And he ran over and saw the dramatics, saw that my back was broken. I was face down. And he ran down there.
How did you tell that somebody's back is broken?
It was really broken. Like when I say...
Well,
I don't know how I was. I think I was just laying flat on my stomach. But what had happened was it was such a severe... Most of the time, people will dislocate like this or a little like this. Mine was like this. So it was a pretty gnarly...
So it almost is like a compound fracture, but it didn't break the skin.
Correct. So he could see it from 6 feet up that it was broken. So he gets down there and I'm not breathing. So what he did was he rolled me over and lifted up my neck to get ready to start compressions and breathing, which is great. He did not, because as we found out later, it was half a hair width away from my aorta. So if he would have given me compressions, I would have bled out. But instead, he lifted up my neck, and I started breathing and convulsing, and my eyes went 2 different directions. But in the meantime, someone's calling 911 because they've seen it. Correct. And what happened was we found out later he was a doctor, but he had been drinking, so he couldn't help me, right? Because he was like, I can't, I've been drinking. I'm sorry, I'm not going to touch a patient. So they call 911. DJ gets called. He goes, I don't know. I have a feeling about this. And he calls Flight for Life and says, I have a feeling about this. If I'm wrong, I'll pay for your gas, but you need to be there. So Flight for Life gets in there, and they got me out of there. And my husband was told, she probably won't remember your name. And I got flown to trauma.
Where?
Arizona, because we were in Arizona.
Okay.
So I got flown to Osborne Hospital down by where we lived in Arizona. And had the best surgeon out there. I was actually told to say goodbye to my husband. So surgery was supposed to be the next day. Okay, so the accident
So
happens,
you do come too?
I do come to. I don't remember any of that night, but I
You don't remember the accident? You don't remember going over the handlebars? You don't?
I remember none of it. I remember the next day. So I was supposed to have surgery the next day at noon, but what had happened was when I dislocated, the sac around my spinal cord burst open, so I'm leaking spinal and brain fluid, right? So I'm going to turn into a brazen in like a few hours. So they moved it up to 8 a.m., and I remember before we went into surgery, we're in the prep room, and my doctor's holding his iPhone, and he goes, Amy, you're not understanding. This is your spine. We're going into surgery. I'm going to have the best cardiothoracic surgeon in there. I'm going to do my best to get you out, but just in case, I need you to say goodbye to your husband. And I did. Like, Mike, it was...
Do you still have that?
I mean, I still remember what I said.
Did he save that? You never went back and watched that video?
Oh, we never had that video. We didn't have video of me saying goodbye to him. Because what the doctor was showing me was my x-ray. I'm sorry.
He wanted you to record. No,
correct. And I'm sorry, I was not clear on that. So it was my x-ray. He's like, look at that. Like, this is serious. So I did. I grabbed Tom's hand and I said, babe, I love you, but I want you to like move on and date and get married if I don't come out. Because
listen,
you know where I went. I went to the frickin' Lifetime movies that all of us watch secretly. We don't tell anybody that we watch them.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Exactly.
I don't know what you heard, and I don't know what my wife is telling you, but...
But it's like the person dies and then you meet your soulmate and you don't know. So I wanted him to be clear that I was okay with that. So he got...
I don't know if I would say that.
You don't?
I think I would look at Jordan, and Will knows Jordan well, and then one day you'll meet Jordan.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, mourn me for a minimum of 5 years.
Yep.
And then take another 2 years to date,
right?
And maybe get married at the 8-year mark.
Yeah.
Or I will roll over in my grave and judge you, and I will haunt you.
I mean, get you.
I will forever. Yeah.
That's awesome.
So
I say goodbye to him, and then he grabs my hand, and I couldn't sit up. Obviously, my back is broken, and
are you in pain, or do they have you so sedated?
I am on so much Dilaudid that I didn't feel anything.
Is there a point that you understand the severity of this? I know a doctor is telling you, but you're so sedated, like you're just, you're not processing?
Not even a little bit. No, not even a little bit. Like, that's why when I said goodbye to Tom, it was matter of fact, right? And he got really close to me and he said, babe, if this is too much, you can let go. And I told him many profanities, and then we went into the operating room. I was like, I will be back. I will be back to haunt you. I will be around.
Is this the competitor?
I think so. And I think I think he might have known that, right? But yeah.
Have you ever had a conversation with how hard this was on him? Like, because he has to go home. I mean, was he sleeping in the hospital? He was. Yeah.
And so this is actually what changed my perception on humanity. Because I was that person, right? I remember distinctly one time I had to hold the door open for a man. And I didn't get a thank you, a fuck off, a head bob, a stare, a middle finger, nothing. He just walked through the door. So in true Amy fashion, I go, you know what, Your Royal Highness, next time I'll roll out the red carpet for you. Well, what happened to Tom in that surgery, it was 9 hours of him sitting in a corner rocking.
Crying.
Yeah. He didn't have the ability to say thank you if someone opened a door. So how dare I do that to some other man who I don't know what he's dealing with?
Yeah.
And it just... I was very jaded, I would say before, and it really changed the way I look at things. And that man has been through so much and had, PTSD, probably better than anyone, but he would be driving down the street and he'd have to pull over because he'd just start screaming and crying for no reason. So it's been really tough on him, and I'm thankful for him, because this is crappy. It's not fun, I joke and I laugh because I want people to understand that life is still awesome. It's just a little bit different. But in those moments, it was really tough. Like, we don't know what's going to happen. And then I get into ICU, and the Today Show changed my name. How dare they? But yeah, I was in ICU for 3 weeks, and I got a bunch of balloons and stuff, and I couldn't take them with me. So I started giving them to everybody that was in ICU. 'Cause some people don't have people there to visit.
Just to spread the
Exactly,
happiness.
to spread the love. I was so fortunate. So many people, I mean.
So it sounds like you're positive.
Well, yeah.
No, there had to be a moment of, I don't deserve this. God doesn't know who I am. I'm Amy Van Dyken, for God's sakes. I've set the standard for female swimming.
Yeah.
My mobility is my power. There has to be this is unfair. I don't deserve this. I mean, there has to be some struggle there for you. Was there?
And if there was, I don't remember it. This is so weird. And when I tell people, it's just odd. I feel like this is my life's goal, like the goal for my life.
You felt like this was your moment?
Correct.
Not the gold medals.
The gold medals got me to where people would pay attention to the woman in the wheelchair. Right? So that was a springboard. And now what I'm doing, I feel, when they first put me in a wheelchair, let's talk about that. I felt comfortable. I was like, yeah, this is cool. I got wheels. I'm going to learn how to do a wheelie. I'm going to learn how to bump curbs. I do all the things. It was weird.
Do you think your positivity is on a clinical level?
Probably. I probably need some help.
So was that what drove you to success prior to the?
No. So, they always say to athletes, there's one of two ways that you go about looking at a race. One, you're afraid to lose. Two, you're afraid to win, right? I was always afraid to lose. I mean, or you wanted to win. I apologize. You're afraid to lose or you wanted to win. I mean, winning was fine. I was afraid to lose. I don't want to be.
Was that always healthy?
No, it's not healthy. No. Because the thing is, when I look back in my life, the time that I learned the most about myself was when I didn't win. When I got...
God, failure is so powerful, isn't it?
Is it? It's amazing. You learn so much. And you learn a lot of humility, which I think is really cool. So I always tell kids, don't worry about if you're not winning yet. You're learning the lessons, keep pushing. And if it's going to happen, it'll happen.
Was there a level? Because I mean, huge within the everyday warrior confine.
Right.
I talk about failure as a part of the process.
Yeah.
Like, learn to smile at it. Not to love it, but to smile when it happens. And what matters is the self-reflection after the failure.
Yes.
There had to be some form of self-reflection. You come out of surgery.
Correct. Yeah.
You're told, Amy, you're never going to walk again. Did it force you into the self-reflection of, wait a second, I've done the unthinkable. I've got this. I mean, there had to be some level of self-reflection there to frame your mindset going forward. And I know sometimes we don't recognize it until years later.
Correct. And that might be what I'm doing. So I am really good, and I know military men and women are like this. I am very good at compartmentalizing.
Probably military women more than military men.
Maybe, well, now that I learned that the men are in a sorority, it's a whole different game. Yeah. But no, so, I don't remember that. I just remember, and I remember even telling Tom, I said, babe, this is where we are now. And I don't want to look back. I want to look forward, and I want to be the best person that I can be, and I want to help as many people as I can. Because I know that this is not an easy road for anybody. And everyone's talking about, racism and sexism and misogyny. There's ableism out there all over the place. And I want to shine a light on it. And I want to show the wheelchair people that wheelies are cool. I can still wear high heels. They just don't hurt my feet. I can still dance. I want to show people that. I do things the same, but in a different way. And whenever I do something new, I always have to look around and plan. And I know you guys do this too. 3 escape routes, right? Because if the first one doesn't work and the second one doesn't work, let's hope to God the third one works.
Contingencies. We usually have 3 contingencies. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what you do. You plan 3 steps ahead in case shit hits the fan or whatever. So that's all I do when I go into a place, right? If that elevator's broken, how am I going to get out of here? Oh, there's an escalator. I'll use the escalator. People in airports watching me do escalators is fun.
Can you do that on your own?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, I'm hardly with anyone to help me. If I'm with somebody, it's to have a good time, to have a conversation, whatever. Will I need help? Probably. It maybe in something, but I'm very independent. which I love.
I'm hoping tomorrow
Yeah.
we spark something into you where
Yeah.
like, again.
Oh, yeah.
Not only again, but I want to go to Everest and I want to see that from 20,000 feet. Like, but
Wow. What does that look like?
I can't really remember.
Okay.
I remember watching the video. No,
Yeah.
I do. It was awe-inspiring, but you're also focused on, okay, now I need to execute this because the drop zone is small, what we call confined easy.
Sure.
In the parachute because the density of the area is just screaming at speed. Wow. And so, but I think I want to give you the sense of, because I'm going to be in the airplane with you.
I know, I'm
and
so
we've got to
excited.
put you into the harness,
Yeah.
Nick and I, I'm going to be talking to you right before you go. Like,
Okay.
hey, are you nervous? And of course you're going to be nervous.
Of course, yeah.
And be like, you remember how you were before that Olympic performance? Nervous.
Yeah.
This is it.
It's probably going to feel the same, do you think?
I think it will.
I'm so stoked.
But that degrades.
Sure.
That subsides as you get more jumps under your belt. But
Yeah.
still, the beauty of having come right back from Iceland, like it just ruined jumping for me. Now I got to jump in Iceland all the time.
I went to Iceland. Me and my best friend are talking about going to Iceland right
Dude,
now.
you got to do the ring road.
Really?
Do the ring road.
Okay.
Yeah, Will came
Yeah.
with me.
Okay, good.
Yeah, Will stayed 2 days, 3 days later.
Yes.
I had a wife. I couldn't justify once we
Yeah.
canceled the expedition.
Yeah.
Due to reasons beyond our control, and
Sure.
Andy Stumpf is about to do a podcast on why we did, because he can articulate it that much better than I. He's smarter than I am. I had to get home, but
I get that.
so I'm honestly starting to believe there's something seriously wrong with you.
Agreed.
Oh, okay.
I mean,
this positivity is like, if more people had this
Right.
infectious positivity in the face of adversity,
Sure.
like you look at all attributes,
Yes.
confidence, grit, drive,
Yeah.
accountability, discipline. On the resilience, you are off the charts.
Oh.
You are like you almost like to what people would be like, yeah, maniacal resilience. But there's beauty to that.
Thank you for saying that. It means a lot coming from you. I really appreciate that. Thank you.
So you have dedicated your life now to speaking to people.
Yep. And teaching the world. I do teachable moments on my Instagram. And it's just stuff that I didn't know about when I was an able-bodied person.
We're going to put it out multiple times, but your Instagram is at
Amy Van Dyken.
You've got to follow this.
Thank you.
Because most people look at people that have suffered horrible accidents. They say like, oh, that poor,
Bless your heart.
bless your heart, that sweet woman.
Yep. I get it all the time.
And your response is?
Thank you. Thank you. Right? If anyone's going to bless my heart and call me a sweet woman,
yeah.
I mean, it does not happen often. Like, you're getting to know me. I am not, I mean, let's be honest.
You don't hold your tongue.
I do not.
At all.
No. Well, I had no filter before my brain injury, and now I literally have no filter.
So with the brain injury of the injury
Yes.
of the accident,
Yeah.
What was the level of that?
Oh God, it was pretty gnarly. So it was frontal lobe. So I went through 6 weeks of speech therapy.
So was your speech pretty damaged?
Yes, a lot of stuttering.
Stuttering.
Yep, not remembering the words, getting pissed that I couldn't remember the words. Right, freaked Tom out. So yeah, I went through a lot of that. Another thing that's really weird, right?
Did they have to? I'm assuming you had swelling in the frontal lobe. Did they?
a little bit, but it was okay. It subsided. They didn't
Okay.
have to go in.
They thought they may have to crack your skull at some point.
Correct,
To
but
relieve
they
the pressure.
didn't,
Okay.
which was great. So what happened? I guess it was like leaking through where everything was going through at the time.
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand the medical stuff, but this is weird. I'm out to dinner with my neurosurgeon, right? Because I become dear friends with him, and we're eating a steak, and he's like, "Amy, do you want a glass of red wine?" I'm like, "Oh God." He goes, "Really?" My thing before my accident, I was
red
a
wine.
red wine connoisseur, and I loved chocolate. It makes me want to
Which
vomit.
go hand in hand,
Which
yeah.
go hand in hand. It makes me want to vomit now. So I tell him that, and he goes, "Well, that's because of the metallic taste in your mouth." I'm like, "I don't have a metallic." Ah, crap. I do. I didn't notice it. But brain injured people always have some sort of metallic taste in their mouth. And so I have it, and that's why I don't like those things. Is that weird?
That's odd. Yeah, that's odd.
yeah.
I'm not going to say that. No, that's normal.
Thank you. I appreciate. Thanks.
Funny enough, so we had the luxury of the guys at JSOC to go to a program at Bethesda called the National Intrepid Center of Excellence at Bethesda.
Yep.
And now it's expanded for the entire military. Oh, they got that right.
Good.
Because I'll tell you, the infantry Marines, the infantry soldiers are much more deserving than us to receive that, regardless of how much time they serve. But at one point, they did a cognitive test, and they said, "Hey, listen, you've suffered 50% cognitive degradation." Wow. And I'm smiling, and the doctor's like, "What?" I was like, "I'm sorry. Why are you smiling?" I'm like, "What baseline are you considering that off of?" Because I don't remember you taking a baseline. They're like, "Well, your peers." And I said, without skipping a beat, I'm like, "That's where you're wrong, doc. Because I was never as smart as my peers. I worked that much harder." And he laughed, and I'm like, it's fine. But there was also speech. Yeah. I have a hard time with word recall. Trust me, I'm not sitting crying into my spilt milk at all. But
correct. And you can see it when it happens to us, which is funny because it's almost like our eyes roll back to see the word. I don't know if you do the same thing. I can see the word, feel it, like it's fuzzy
it's there.
Or whatever. It's right here, but I can't get it.
When it happens to me, I'm like, today, Junior, like get it out. Yeah.
Yes.
So I'll be my worst critic.
How's your short-term memory?
Short-term memory is really bad. So what do they call it? Compensatory measures.
Yes.
So my wife will tell me something, and this isn't like, oh, haha, the husband's forgetting what his wife tells me, but she's like, well, and this actually happened in the military. You guys would be like, hey, we got a meeting in 5 minutes. They come back 15 minutes later, and they're like, hey, we're all waiting in the room. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, we told you we had a meeting. So same thing with my wife. And I think she's finally like understanding that this isn't me being like the wife, husband, haha. But guys will bring up things that happen in combat. I'm like, sorry, fellas, I just don't remember that.
Yeah.
And there's things that they don't remember as well. So, I mean, multiple, like for my generation that served 20 years and had multiple combats, there are like several lesions on the brain. But great. Dude, those that's a badge of honor in a sense.
You know what? It kind of is, right?
Yeah, okay, that's my challenge.
Yeah.
The one thing we're scared about is it does open us up to early onset dementia. And Alzheimer.
Parkinson's,
yes.
ALS, yeah.
Well, there's, not to bring this up, I don't want to invest. There's a buddy he was a combat photographer in Vietnam.
Oh, wow.
And he is a emeritus partner at IDEO, which is one of the biggest think tanks in Silicon Valley.
Right.
The mouse we all use, they designed, amongst other things.
Yes.
His name is Dave Haygood.
Okay.
And he had Parkinson's. And he had a node implanted in his brain that when the Parkinson stops, he just hits the node and it stops.
Yes.
And he was so proud of it. It was like the coolest thing.
Yeah.
But if you know Dave is just that type of personality.
Right.
Yeah. So.
Oh, I love it.
You got to make the most of adversity in those because you see it.
Right.
You've seen people with your level of injury that just shut down and life's over.
I've seen people with lower level injuries. They have more control. Like they know when they have to go to the bathroom and they shut it down. I'm like, really? Like I get it. I understand it because there are two ways that you can go. You can go into the feeling sorry for yourself, sitting on the sofa with dirty sweats, watching the Housewives or whatever, or you get out and you teach people that this is okay. You're fine. And this is
not what defines me.
Correct.
Yeah.
The gold medals didn't define me. This piece of metal is not going to define me.
For so many, that does define them.
Oh, of course it does. Of course it does. But my goal in my life right now is to make it so that doesn't define them. Right. So like I've got a friend who's a quad, so he can't move right from like he has upper arm movement. He's getting into acting. Brilliant.
That's awesome.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Right. Like there is no holds barred. There's a girl who is a writer and a producer for NCIS New Orleans who has my level of injury. Do you ever wonder why there was a guy in a wheelchair on that show? Right. It's so cool.
Amy, I can't tell you I'm a fan of NCIS because I got investigated the day I retired.
You did?
Oh yeah. Bullshit story. This is government. Oh, it was my closure that, I'm really done with the government. I retired. Thank you. This is why, but that's another story. There are good people in NCIS. I just dealt with shitty NCIS agents. Same guys that went after Eddie Gallagher. If you ever heard that story.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, and I'm blanking here because we've been drinking all day. God damn you.
So sorry.
No, it's okay. Well, let me say this. I've got a few friends that are, Rob Jones lost both his legs.
Correct, yeah.
In Afghanistan, and then went on to run 31 marathons in 31 days on his blades, and his positivity is through the roof. Matthew, and I'm forgetting Bradford, is another Marine that lost his legs and lost his sight. And what's his motto is no sight, no legs, no problem. But they almost adjusted better than veterans that came home with all their limbs and all their,
faculties and all of that. Yeah.
And it makes me think of, like, one, if I was in their position, I don't know what I would do. I would think, I would like to think I would be like them, but part of me thinks, like, no, like, those guys are more resilient than I am. I would have shut down, but it's like they said, hey, these are my circumstances.
Yeah.
From here forward, they don't define me. I define myself.
Correct.
From my actions.
Yes. Yes. But that's what successful people do all through their life. So that's why I want to teach people with disabilities to do that and to be happy for one thing a day. That's all it takes. Be happy that your husband high-fived you, or you got a kiss from a dog that wasn't yours. You know what
Gratitude.
I mean? Yeah, you just have to, and it'll build, right? I've heard so many times people say, I don't know how I would do it. I don't know how I would be in your position. But the thing is, when you are in my position, you don't have a choice.
No, you do.
Well,
you do.
Well, you do have a choice. I didn't have a choice, right?
No, you did too. You just chose. This is where
I chose door number 1 instead of door number 2.
Which is the harder door. It is.
Do you think?
Oh yeah.
You probably you've been through all this.
Well, no, I've not been through this, but to choose the door of just shutting down means putting no effort and saying I'm defined by this.
Correct.
And there's nothing I can do.
Correct. And I just hope that people don't do that. I hope that people can look at their situation no matter what it is, right? We've talked about it before. We're living in crazy times, and find one thing that'll make you happy, and then it will just snowball and you will be positive. But look at the good things that you have in your life, right? Like maybe you have a cool dog or a cool cat, or maybe you've got like a squirrel that comes to visit you every day. There's always something good in life. You just have to find it. And sometimes it's hard to find, but you can always do it.
Well, I'm still searching for that cool squirrel. Once I find it, I'll let you know.
Okay, let me know,
Yeah.
right?
So, Amy, I know you speak, and we're going to wind this down. We always end with 2 questions, but when you speak, and I envision you speaking to a auditorium of high schoolers and college students all sitting there, what are those things that you try to reinforce to them?
Well, I tell them my story, and basically my story is, who are you to tell me what I can and can't do, right? Nobody knows what's in my heart, in my soul, in my brain, in my body. You don't know me. So don't tell me I can't do something. And
when you're saying to them, no matter your circumstances,
no matter your circumstances, you can have the worst day ever. Your worst day is different than my worst day. So don't compare it with anybody.
D for joy.
Absolutely. Yeah. And just live in the moment and have fun, be positive. Crap is going to happen to you and it's not going to be fun. But when you can get through it and see the other side, it's beautiful. So be patient. It may not take a day, it may not take a week or a year, but you will get there. And I want them to know that nothing can keep them down. We're resilient as human beings.
If you don't let it.
Find it, right? But it's like when your dog accidentally eats your engagement ring. You got to look for the diamond through the shit.
I'm sorry, did this happen?
It may have happened.
That sounds like an accountability issue.
It may have been.
Was your husband a little...
Well, that's I told the story. He's not here right now, so I can tell the story.
Oh, he didn't know?
Oh, gosh, I don't think so. Maybe he does. Let's ask him later.
I mean, how often do I recognize the ring on my wife's finger? It just...
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct, yeah. And it's covered with a Why do you smell, Amy? I don't know. My diamond's clean. Right, but it's like that.
I don't even know what to say to that.
I know, but that's how I look at life, right? Like, so there is a diamond. You just got to keep looking for it. Sometimes it's not cute, but you'll find it.
Sometimes it takes years to find.
Correct.
Yeah.
And several dogs.
We are too many drinks deep.
Sorry.
So we close this out.
Yeah.
In one, where can people contact you to come speak to their organizations, their companies, their
Awesome.
communities.
Thank you. So I have an agent. His name is Mark Zimmerman. If you go onto my Instagram, I have his stuff right there.
At Amy Van Dyken.
At Amy Van Dyken. You can find me on the Twitter, at Amy Van Dyken. You can find me on the Snappy Chats, at Amy Van Dyken. And you can also find me on the TikToks.
Yeah, I don't think I have Snapchat, do I?
Oh, it's
But I have TikTok.
The TikTok is awesome.
I've never signed on to TikTok. And my wife saw that and she's like, she just walked out of the room.
Seriously.
I'm like, I don't run that. Michelle and I will run that. Not even me. Okay.
That is hilarious. TikToks are fun, man. You can
Can't
be
do
crazy.
it.
No.
So we didn't have social media when we were in.
Correct.
So the first social media account I had was Facebook when I went into the University of Texas MBA program because they pass information through
Sure.
the groups. And that was a stretch. And now that I understand social media is a tool, and I'll be honest, the team runs the majority of it. I don't want to sound like a diva, like my team runs my social media.
My people.
Yeah, we do. But I want to finish with two questions.
Okay.
First, what are those 1, 2, 3 rules, those tenets, those non-negotiables, those codes that you've lived your life by that have most of the time led to success? I know sometimes you follow your own rules and it doesn't work out, but for those listening that want to be like you.
Right. Believe in yourself. Believe in the goals that you set for yourself. And always be a kind person, because every human being in this world is just trying to do what you are and get along in the world and be happy and have a good life.
Do you think number 3 has been lost?
Number 3 has been lost. I think in the world it's been lost. I really do. I'm down the street and it's hard being in a wheelchair, in downtown Denver, and I'll be bebopping around and these kids are on their phones and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm going to run you over. Like, nobody pays attention to anybody anymore. We need to have that communication with people. Like, if you look at a baby who isn't touched at all, it won't live.
Yeah.
That we need touch, we need hugs, we need all the things, and we've gotten away from that.
Are you still in swimming? Are you doing any coaching or mentoring whatsoever?
So no, I was coaching a high school swim team. Now I work for Pac-12 Network. I've worked for them for 10 years.
As a commentator.
As a commentator.
Yes.
I did the Olympics this past year as a commentator.
Yes, and you crushed it.
Thank you. It was a lot of fun.
You've got more personality than the others who are very...
Right.
I won't trash on your colleagues.
Here's what I never knew about sports people, right? They're always so serious. You're talking about a game. Like you're talking about a game. It's fun, right? And I know that, yes, okay, Super Bowls and Stanley Cups and all that, it's on the line. However, it's what you did when you were 6 to have fun.
Yeah.
Have fun. Just have fun, man. If we went back to how we were when we were 5 and 6 years old, the world would be a better place.
Yeah, it would.
I think.
Especially in your 20s when you don't care about money, you're just having fun.
Oh, exactly. And all you're doing is coming home when the street lights are on for some dinner, and then you're going back out.
Exactly. That's powerful. And lastly, when the time has come, how are you going to look back in your life, and how are you going to evaluate whether you've lived a life of impact and purpose?
If I can see disabled people being represented as we represent every other community in this world, I will be happy. But I also want my tombstone to read,
Here we go.
she was a really cool chick and kind of a dick.
If that happens, I told somebody recently, I think it was on the Andy Stumpf podcast, I said, always the bridesmaid, never the bride. And what I mean by that is always a team player. Always a team player.
Right.
Never the Michael Jordan.
Yes.
Always the Kerr or the Pippen. Yeah.
Right?
No.
I always felt for Scottie Pippen. I'm like, man, he was my favorite. I loved him.
He's still one of the NBA greats. Yeah, I know.
You're right. But at the time it was like, oh, all about Michael. But then Scottie's pulling up these numbers that are pretty good.
Astronomical. All-star in any other team. But an all-star in the history of the NBA.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But they wouldn't have done what they did without each other. I always say that, like, if you take one person out of a team, even though you could fill the spot with a person, it's the attitude, the energy that makes that team what it is. So when you disrupt it, it kind of funks it up a little bit.
When are we going to see the documentary on Amy Van Dyken-Rouen?
Oh, I don't know if we need to see that.
Yeah, we do.
Well, I don't know. We need to get that done.
Okay.
If you know anybody who wants Netflix, if you are interested at all, give me a call.
I think young ladies need to see that.
Maybe.
I would want my daughter and my son
Maybe. Oh,
to see that.
I would love that. Well, that means a lot. Thank you. I appreciate that. Maybe
Okay.
it'll be a cartoon when it's out. Who knows?
Well, I know we still have some drinking tonight.
Isn't this crazy? I know. We're going to have so much fun.
Well, there's got to be a level where I'm going to be like, hey, 10:30, everyone go get some sleep.
You have no idea. I turn into a pumpkin.
So my wife my wife is 32. I'm about to turn 45. What I love about her is she's like 9 p.m. She's like, time to go home.
She is good. Oh, I love her.
Oh, but she's up at 5 a.m. like and I used to be up before, and now it's like changing. She's like, I used to love when you get up before me. Now it's just like, it's a little unattractive. We play with that.
Oh, I love that. Yeah.
Yeah. So
you got to play in a relationship.
oh yeah, you got to play. So we're going to jump tomorrow.
Yeah.
And we're going to video and tape this entire thing. And I'm so interested for your perspective on the ground. Remember,
Yeah.
Pendleton whiskey
Correct.
shot on the ground. And we are going to dedicate this jump not only to you, but somebody who lost their life on July 17th during the global war on terror. We'll keep that name for tomorrow. Amy, I cannot thank you enough for all the followers. Remarkable woman, high performer, one of the most resilient women I've ever met. If you can't learn from this story, the problem is not her, it's you. And I just said that. All right, guys, we'll see you again. Thank you.